Hello, hello, and good day. I am your Baker Patrick, and today I want to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just a few updates. Firstly, for those keeping up with the Pokemon challenge I'm doing, we just got through the bulk of the game. We're about to fight Leon, and then hopefully Eternatus here soon. Then I got the DLC left, and then Shield will be done, meaning I'm down one of 9 generations. I think the plan at that point will be to re-download Red and Crystal onto my 3DS, so I can play those on something a little bit more comfortable. Do those in that order because I feel like one's gonna be like really really slow, and then we'll do probably Ultra Sun or Moon. Not quite sure yet, but I think that's the plan for now. So that's good. So the MCU. I am filming this pre me seeing the new Fantastic Four movie. It's been out. I haven't seen it yet, and I really haven't heard anything any which way. So, very excited. I thought maybe it'd be interesting to go through the various phases, talk about, each movie within them, what I thought about them, and then capstone the whole phase with a final thought. Just getting into it, we got, obviously phase one. Always got to start at the beginning. And, that starts off with Iron Man. And, I really, really enjoyed the first Iron Man. I mean, I think it gave us the potential and the hope of what superhero movies could look like. Robert Downey Jr. did a phenomenal job playing Iron Man. I think Kevin Feige really, really did a good job, honestly, with this entire phase, but especially with this one. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who doesn't like this movie. Who's a fan of the MCU at this point. And, I think it stands on its own very well without everything else. Then you got the Incredible Hulk. I'm going to be honest, I don't really remember this one much, and I feel like that's okay. I mean, I vaguely remember some plot points, but, I think if I were to give it a rating out of 10, I would have to probably give it a 5. Like, it's very middle of the road. Like, I don't think it was too bad to remember it, but it wasn't too good either. It just exists, and that's okay. Iron Man 2, just as good as the first one. Obviously they fleshed some stuff out and they gave us the air quote Mandarin and did all that fun stuff, but I think it was a decent film. I thought it was pretty good, and absolutely loved Thor. I thought Thor was a really good movie. I'll have more thoughts on Thor down the road, but just know I actually did like the first two, but especially this one. I think it helped bring in those characters. It really helped flesh out who he is and what's going on. And I think they did a really good job with it. Captain America, the First Avenger, once again, absolutely solid piece. I think giving Chris Evans a new role in the Marvel Universe was a good choice. And I think he did one of the best caps we've had. And, the whole thing was, the whole thing came to a head as we got the Avengers there. And, what a movie. I mean, it's iconic. And it really suited phase one. And, I think back then it was, man, if only we knew how good we were going to get it. Back then. That's the wrong tab. That's the right tab. Alright. So, overall, phase one, I think, did a good job. I think it was fine. Phase two, we kick off with Iron Man 3. It was okay. I didn't care for the villain too much. The thing with the little kid was neat, although that didn't go anywhere, really, except for post-credits, or, yikes, not even post-credits, just a weird little Easter egg in a later film. It was fine. I mean, introducing Extremis was cool, I guess, but again, it didn't really do a whole lot. But it was fine. Now, Thor: The Dark World, that's a very decisive film for some people. I am a fan. I do like that one. I know it was a little bit more dark and broody, but I think what it did well was something that Thor said, and it was, where I come from, magic and science are one and the same. Because magic is often science you just don't understand. And I liked how they were trying to bring the two together, or at least make it reasonable that they'd be in the same world. They also really gave Thor some solid character development again. And I really liked how, he really grew up in over the course of the 2 films that he's had at this point. So, funny enough, I've actually never seen the entirety of The Winter Soldier. I'm not sure how I keep missing this movie, especially considering all the reruns and stuff, and I have direct access through like Disney Plus and stuff. I just for some reason have never sat down and watched the entirety of it, so I don't really have an opinion on it. I know some people have liked it, but yeah, unfortunately not not one that's I'm very aware of. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy, that one is one I've seen, and I did like that one quite a lot. I think Chris Pratt, great film for him. I was not too familiar with those characters, and I would like to say the renditions were pretty decent. I think Drax has been one of my favorites out of that group just because of how blunt he is and how he just doesn't get a lot of nuances. I think it's very endearing, and just, obviously seeing him grow over time has been nice, but this initial introduction of this ragtag group was just really, really good, although I do miss this Groot a lot compared to the one we have now, but, that's just personal taste. Then we get Avengers Age of Ultron. That is quite the movie. I absolutely loved that one. I mean, I do hate what they did to Quicksilver, but I think introducing the Maximoff twins was a good call. I feel like having Ultron as the villain was fine. I mean, some people think he was a bit much. I thought he did a decent enough job, because I think the beauty with the MCU is it's not perfectly comic book accurate, but it never needed to be. It was kind of its own standalone thing that took inspiration from, but was not entirely based on the comics. And I'm sure that's a very, burn this guy at the stake kind of statement, but, I think it did fine. Especially because I forget the actor's name, but I know him as Raymond Reddington from The Blacklist. Solid job, did a really good job. Plus, Vision was just so good. And I didn't even realize this till looking at this list, but looks like our capstone for Phase 2 was not, in fact, Age of Ultron. It was Ant-Man, which first Ant-Man was pretty good. I mean, Paul Rudd, good job. Most of the cast really solid. Honestly, I gotta say, I think overall we haven't had a lot of flops with the casting for the MCU. Well, we'll get there for sure. I know I have a few gripes, but I think overall it was a good movie, and I really think the Luis character really just brought that home. And overall, Phase 2 I think was fine. I think it built upon what the first phase did, and it did it very well. And then we get our Phase 3, our big one. So first of all, Captain America Civil War. What a movie to just, hey, let's take all these characters you like and have them fight. I mean, once again, not done like the comics, but I don't think it needed to be done like the comics. And I think the fact that they had the cast they did at the scale they did at this time was just really impressive. Doctor Strange, once again, very good film. Benedict really brought it together. The story overall was just a ton of fun. I think the visuals were some of the best we've had at this point. And even compared to some of the stuff now, it's way better. And I'd also like to take this moment to apologize if my thoughts aren't too deep. I've just been getting slammed with work this week, and it's been hard to really do anything else. So, but I made a promise I would try to get this episode out. I try to get these episodes out on a Saturday basis, and I know there's like one of you who watches every time, and I thank you to that one viewer. Continuing on, we got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Good movie. I think it was interesting to introduce Ego at this point, considering we were going to get Celestials down the line, but to each their own. I'm still sad that we lost Yondu. I think he was one of the best characters of, at least, how did they put it? The space group, because they wanted to have Marvel street level, Marvel planetary level, and then Marvel space level. Kraglin's doing a good job, but I will forever miss Yondu. Spider-Man Homecoming, not terrible. I think it was a bit rocky, but I also think it was Tom Holland's first really big breakout movie for this kind of a thing, and I think they were trying to figure out the character, and that's okay. I mean, it had some rough spots, but I think it did fine. Now, this next one is, in my opinion, not fine, and that is Ragnarok. I have grown to appreciate it now, but I think that's only because of the quality of content we've been getting for the past few years. I hated Ragnarok when it first came out. I think part of that's because they really dumbed down Thor for some reason. I mean, they turned him into just an absolute man-child for what seemed like no reason. And coupled with the fact that they were just like, we're just gonna nuke Asgard and all the characters and just get rid of all of it. I hated that decision, you know? It's never sat right with me, and I still kind of stand by what I said. The only reason I can, tolerate it now is just because everything else is just so much worse. Although, picking up the speed, Black Panther was absolutely phenomenal. I truly do miss Chadwick Boseman. He was such a great actor. Not even just in this. I mean, he's just a good actor. And he really helped bring this to life, and it's such a shame that he passed. But definitely a good movie. And then Infinity War. I am happy that this was the film where people like really got on board with the MCU, because I know this was like the one. This was where everybody was like, ooh, this is big, this is huge, they're doing some stuff. I think this is when it truly became like, this is an interconnected series of media, and that is awesome. Ant-Man and the Wasp was fine. I'm gonna be real, I'm trying to even remember the story. Oh yeah, the weird dude from the Unicorn was the bad guy, wasn't he? He just wanted Pym Tech for some reason, and then we got Ghost, and that didn't go anywhere for so long. That was fine. Captain Marvel was whatever. I mean, I think it was fine. It was trying to establish more space stuff, but it didn't really do anything. And I have a feeling that between this and Ant-Man, I think this was the start of the cracks, as I'm going to call them. I'll try to elaborate further. And then I know it's not the next one, but I really don't want to use this as the end cap. So we had, Spider-Man Far From Home. I did not care for this Mysterio. I did appreciate that they tried having Spider-Man not be Spider-Man, sort of, with the, Dark Monkey or something. I thought that was kind of neat. I don't know, just like a lot of the pacing was weird, and just the overall story was just very meh. I think the only nice moment was when Happy Hogan was looking at Tom and realizing, he really is like Tony. And that was a nice little moment, but, overall the film was eh. But what I would like to think is the true end of Phase 3 plus the entire Infinity Saga is Endgame. What a masterclass in trying to bring together all of these films into one unified ending. I mean, I know a lot of people say that this was the end of the MCU. It sometimes does really feel like that, but I think the reality is that it's, it was a start to something else. But man, did they set the bar, I think, a little too high with this one. I mean, the fact that it's still talked about to this day is crazy, because I think the worst part is in a couple of years, this thing will be 10 years old. And that is a really, really sad thought to have. But it is already 2025, and this came out in 2019. So 4 years. 4 years for it to turn 10 is nuts. But those were the first 3 phases. That was the Infinity Saga. I mean, overall, I think it laid its groundwork out. It fleshed out these characters. It told some amazing stories. It told a few not so great stories. But I think it did alright. Then we get into Phase 4, the beginning of the Multiverse Saga. Oh boy. So, Black Widow was very whatever. I think it suffered mostly because of, COVID and everything else. It just wasn't very interesting. I think they kind of ruined Taskmaster just a little bit, and I'm not saying that just because it was a woman. I'm saying that because why make it an extension of the Red Room and do all of that? And I mean, even the whole story, it just felt like it did nothing outside of reiterate to us, hey, look, Black Widow was a cool character and she's dead. Like, okay, thanks. Shang-Chi was good. I'm still sad they couldn't figure out how to make a sequel before everything else that's been going on, but Shang-Chi is decent. I think the story was nice. I think, again, the acting was fine. I like the callback to the original Mandarin. I thought that was pretty good. Less good, though, is the Eternals. I don't know what they were thinking with this one. I mean, it was, again, just a really nothing film, because there were no stakes, really. And even the conclusion, all you did was leave a giant, what I was thinking was a marble statue out in the ocean. And then they just didn't talk about it for like many, many, many years. You know, that just, it sucked. And then I guess this is where I'll explain the cracks. I know that people will call them like inconsistencies or plot holes or whatever. But I think it's more of just the facade of Marvel being all connected and things mattering really started to fall apart when you could have movies like this happen, have what should be a big earth-shaking event just amount to nothing. You know, it's just Tuesday. And, like, this movie came out in 2021, left us with a huge cliffhanger that wouldn't be utilized until 4 years later. Like, that is insane. But, you know, not to get too hung up on it, we do Spider-Man No Way Home. I would argue the best of the Spider-Mans we've had so far. And I think that is in due part to canonizing the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield films. I think having those all be part of the connected universe is amazing. Much less having, you know, Tom Hardy's Venom be part of it. I think that's just, it was a really nice touch. It was nice bringing them all together. I think it was a solid move. And, you know, at this point, I will admit, I am a fanboy. I have been watching these movies since I was a child. I have been invested in the MCU for a long time. So for someone like me, yes, having a movie like this that is mostly nostalgia bait works on someone like me, because I am the target demographic, you know? So, you know, regardless. Okay, before I talk about this next one, I was only going to focus on the films, because I would like to talk about the television series later, because I think that's its own mess. I do need to feel that... I do feel the need to point out how disjointed Disney was at this time, between WandaVision having what seemed like a solid end, with her maybe being curious about dark magic, to just going full genocidal, I'm going to literally kill a child for my children, in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Cool idea, brings together the multiverse a little bit more, but at the same time, oh boy, you're just not doing a lot with this. Or I should say, like, they did quite a bit in a sense that, like, we introduced the Darkhold, we got rid of the Darkhold, okay. But, you know, like, what did we really accomplish here? We introduced America Chavez, and then she's just been gone. Okay, great. Thor Love and Thunder, Abyssal. I mean, again, Thor is just big retard. We brought back the Jane Foster character, which, to give her props, I liked, you know, the Mighty Thor. I thought she did a good job. I thought Gore, or the God Butcher, was actually fine. I mean, he was a little bit weird and off kilter, but I think as far as MCU goes, at this point, he was doing okay. I just think the story overall was just very meh. And another crack in the facade is introduced Hercules. Haven't seen him. So thanks for that. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I didn't care for this one. I mean, part of that's because, you know, Chadwick gone didn't help. I just feel like Shuri was a strong character prior to this, and then they just made her very not strong. Like, they made her very impulsive. They made her very just, I'm gonna beat you up and I'm angry because I'm angry. And it's like, okay. And then Namor is just, I don't know, something felt off. I mean, I understand he's always been like a maniac, but I don't know, it's just something felt wrong with this. And then, like, even little things like the Riri Williams character, I just, and that'll come up again when I talk about the shows later on, because boy oh boy. So now that was Phase 4. Very lackluster. I mean, I would argue it started out okay, but it just got worse and worse and worse. And I know they were having like actors strikes, and I know they were having writer strikes, but Christ. Oh crap. Alright, yeah, well, Phase 5. I guess this is where it really comes to a head, because, well, actually looking at the list, I've seen everything in this, and I have not seen anything in Phase 6, so let's get into it. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Yikes-a-roni with cheese. I didn't care for this movie. I mean, I hated that the ending was just ants. I really, really hated what they did to MODOK, because that's one of my favorite villains. And they just absolutely fucked him up irreparably. And even the whole Kang thing, I really feel like, and I understand they were having issues with the actor, but you set up such an important guy, and then you had to backpedal so goddamn hard, and you really just lost the sauce, my guy. So that was a shame. Although I would like to say Guardians of the Galaxy 3, amazing. I love that they said fuck for the first time. I love how connected they characters felt. I'm happy like nobody really died, and they got to flesh everyone else, and that they got to flesh everyone out, especially Rocket. You know, it felt good. It felt like they were getting back on track. And then we got the Marvels, and you know, that singing sequence pops into my head sometimes, and I wonder what the hell. You know, I'm also frequently reminded of the fact that Monica Rambeau is stuck in the original X-Men universe, because why not? But then it doesn't come up again because, oh wait a minute, Deadpool and Wolverine came out, which I will say I did like that movie quite a lot. I mean, I liked the other Deadpool movies as well, but I think this one just, it took a stab at the multiverse. It did its own thing. It gave us some good characters. I like how they did, what is her name? Cassandra. I'm blanking right now. I do apologize. You know, just the way they covered things, they were able to bring back some original characters and utilize the Void, I think, a bit better, and just the Easter eggs and other little things. It was nice. And, you know, it was definitely a change of pace. And then, you know, Captain America Brave New World, it was not great, but it's definitely not the worst they've done. I think it was a little too political talky, but, you know, overall, I think it was fine. I think Harrison Ford did an okay job. I think the fact that we've now put Thaddeus away is fine. We can let the character be at rest. I mean, it's a shame we're basically losing Red Hulk, but at this point, we don't even really have a Hulk, so it's cool. You know, I think Sam Wilson being Captain America now is decent enough, and I kind of like Elijah getting more screen time. I think as a character, it's nice to see him. And then, funny enough, the thing that made me think about doing this episode, the Thunderbolts. I watched this in theaters, absolutely loved it, watched it again recently, and, or I should say rewatched it again recently. It still holds up. It's still a really, really good movie. I think it just kind of goes back to form. I mean, it has its serious moments, it has its funny moments, it's a really good cast. It felt unified, and I think what's interesting is, outside of the end credits scene, they really didn't play up into anything weird. Like, it wasn't too many callbacks that I can really think of. It was more or less its own thing. Like, if you didn't know any of these characters going into it, I think for the most part you were still fine. I think you picked up on who they are, what they're like, and you were able to go, and it was okay. They did a good job. But then, you know, that end credits scene, ooh, we're hinting at the Fantastic Four, which, you know, hey, we're done with Phase 5, we're going into Phase 6, which I guess I'll just read off what they are and we'll talk about it for a second. But you know, Phase 5 was fine, I guess, to put it. And then Phase 6. So obviously we have Fantastic Four First Steps. I still need to go see this one. Weirdly haven't heard anything about it. I've seen a few memes, but nothing that's like spoilery or lets you know anybody's actual thoughts. Spider-Man Brand New Day, I have absolutely no idea what that's about, but I'm very excited. And then speaking of excited, and this is, I think, this one's going to make or break people. Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Now, I love the Secret Wars comics, and I'm hoping that whatever they had planned going on for Kang, since they had to completely undo all of that, that they come back even stronger with bringing us Doom, and especially giving us what might be this big finale. I'm really hoping we can get this done. I've heard talks about maybe post-Secret Wars, maybe the MCU will be kind of soft reset, and we can start again. Although I feel like I want to use the word superhero fatigue. I think that is kind of the case that we are at that point. It's kind of like how we had zombie fatigue or vampire fatigue. I think it's just, we had something, it was doing good, we liked it, but then we got too much of it. It just didn't stop. And now here we are. And trust me, I like these characters, I like these stories, I want to see what they're going to do with them, but I want it to be good. And, you know, if we can get Doomsday into Secret Wars to feel like how Infinity War went into Endgame, then I think they did their job well enough, and hopefully we can just move on. You know, only time can tell. And, you know, I'm hopefully optimistic, and maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should be at the same time. I mean, only time can tell. And you can't call me a fool until it's said and done, because then you'll have hindsight on your side. But, you know, thank you for listening to me ramble in this low energy episode. You know, I do appreciate anybody who watched this. You know, if you are at this point in the video, please let me know one of your favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe films. And just, you know, maybe just tell me a little bit why. It could even be something simple like, I like Captain America, I don't know, Brave New World because Harrison Ford. You could say that, and you know, that's awesome. Thank you. But, you know, until next time, thank you for baking with me, and you'll have a really good day. Goodbye.